Show is to business as subjective is to objective. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend, Brooke. Boom. And now on to our topic. Show is to business as subjective is to objective. Okay, first let me just address the title of this video. And if it did give you flashbacks to your SAT test or some other standardized written test, I apologize. So let me expound upon what I mean. The industry and your career within it can be grossly generalized into two areas: show and business. The show is what happens between action and cut. The art, the collaboration, the storytelling that's meant to evoke emotions from the audience, to make us think about our lives, or to feel seen or known by a character or a situation being portrayed on screen. The business is the contracts, timesheets, billing, size of our trailer, residuals, and so forth and so on. And ideally, we should look at that business in an objective manner through spreadsheets and numbers. Makes sense, right? Whereas we should look at the show as something that is more subjective, because after all, it's the art. My favorite movie is probably not your favorite movie, and who's right? Neither one of us, because it's subjective. It's art. In reality, though, we blur this show and business, this objectivity and subjectivity all together, and as actors who are inside the industry, it can cause a lot of grief. Let me use self-taping as an example. The business part of the self-taped audition is the looking at the deadline of the audition and the shoot dates of the project and how much does it pay and what's the billing and so forth and so on. It might also include you scheduling a time at Get Taped or some other taping service and plotting out your day before you get to the audition. You can be objective about each of these things. The script analysis and your point of view on the scene and your character and the other characters in the scene, well, that is arguably more subjective because you're not necessarily making the right choice. You're making your choices based on how you feel. And that doesn't make it right or wrong because as we all know, casting doesn't know what they want. They're waiting for you to show them who you are. So there is no right or wrong. It's all subjective. And while there can be some objective research that you do on the showrunner, the director, the writers, the network, etc., the bulk of developing your character is a subjective endeavor. Okay, Matt, so what's the point? Well, if you're not careful, and most of us actors aren't, well, you'll blur these lines between objectivity and subjectivity at the most inopportune times. For example, you're at Get Taped, and after a few takes, you turn to me and you say, "Hey, Matt, so which take is best? Which one do you like?" And that is a very unfair question to ask me. First of all, I was your reader, so I was in it with you. I was part of the experience. I was inside the art with you, so I was not an objective observer. And while on playback, I can be more objective about the different takes. Quite honestly, you shouldn't be asking me to make the decision about something that in the end is subjective. This is where you, the artist, the actor, need to develop a greater confidence for what you want the casting director to experience. It's hard, yes, because again, you're trying to be objective about something that is inherently subjective. But by placing the onus on your reader to make this decision for you, you're not doing yourself any favors. I mean, why is my opinion any better than yours? I mean, yeah, I've been doing this for more than 20 years, but that doesn't make my opinion any more relevant than yours for your art. Now, at times, admittedly, I can give you objective advice and help you to navigate the audition, but the vast majority of time that we're dealing with this type of question, which is multiple times a day, it is something that is purely subjective. And if you don't have any sense of how your takes are being perceived by me or eventually by the casting director, then you have a lot of work to do on figuring yourself out. Now, when I took the Sam Christensen workshop back in 2011, this was one of the major benefits for me. It gave me so much clarity on how I'm perceived, not just in my performances, but arguably more importantly, in my daily life. Essentially, it allowed me to become so much more objective about my art. Whew. And boy, is that valuable. And we can extend this discussion to headshots. How many times have you gotten your headshots back and asked your friends, your spouse, your mom, and your agent for their favorites, and you end up with all these different choices, and sure, maybe a couple of them overlap, but you're really not that confident in the end which one you should pick as your primary shot and which one should be also up on Actors Access, etc., etc. Because what you asked all these people to do is to be objective about something that we understand is subjective. Because even the casting directors will all feel differently about the same headshot that you end up choosing to be your primary shot. Not everyone's going to like it. So would it not make sense for you to develop the ability to be able to pick your own headshots with confidence? Not just to take great headshots with confidence, but to be able to narrow those down to 5 or 10. I mean, sure, you should still get input from your team, but let me put it this way. If their choices still surprise you, then you have a lot of work to do on figuring yourself out. And again, the Sam Christensen Workshop addresses this very issue by giving you one of the most elusive tools that every human on this planet is in search of. And that is the ability to be objective about yourself. Think about it. At the core of the human existence is the desire to feel seen, known, understood, right? I mean, when someone gets your name wrong or forgets your name altogether, doesn't it sting just a little bit? I mean, we want to feel the validation that comes with being acknowledged by others around us. Heck, that's what social media thrives on, right? Feeling validated, feeling acknowledged. And it's because there's a gap between what you feel internally to be objectively true about yourself and how the rest of the world receives you or perceives you. Even though you think you're selling this, by the time you actually give it to the world, you suddenly lose confidence that it's being received that way. And that's a liability as an actor, because when the camera rolls, you have this notion of what you want the core of that character to be that you're portraying. You did all that prep work, for crying out loud. So why is it that you have to ask anyone, how was it? Was it good? Which take was best? Did you like it? I hate to be harsh, but that's not attractive. A casting director does not want to see that self-doubt in an in-person audition, and a director certainly does not want to see that self-doubt on set. I apologize that this video turned into sort of an advertisement for the Sam Christensen image process, but let me put it this way. 9 out of the 10 complaints that we hear from actors at Get Taped or at Q&As with casting directors are all addressed by the Sam Christensen process. So much of what creates anxiety in actors is alleviated by that process. It's why Brooke and I are so passionate to be facilitators of the process here in Atlanta. And if you're still watching and you want to learn more, check out the show notes below. We'll have some more information because we almost always have a free preview event coming up in the very near future, no matter when you're viewing this video. And so you can go over to our website and check on the next date for that. We oftentimes do it over Zoom, so you can attend from anywhere in the world. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.